Right, so let's get started, and welcome to session number 4. And it's my pleasure and to introduce you to our two anchors, Elizabeth Lee and Nada Hoskins. And let me just give the floor to Liz. But before doing so, I would like to thank SCI-Arc and especially Liz for all her support throughout this adventure of organizing the Globinars. I have collaborated with Liz in many other projects, and it's always a great opportunity and is always full of energy. And I really appreciate all your support, Liz. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mario. It's always fun to work with you, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this fun adventure. So I want to welcome everyone to what is, I believe, the last session of this 24-hour Globinar, and a huge credit to those of you that have made it for the 24 hours. This is really, you know, the on behalf of the steering panel for our World Heritage, there's going to be a series of these debates around issues that will be held throughout 2021. For background, our World Heritage is a public initiative primarily aimed at developing a stronger role for civil society in World Heritage conservation efforts. And through this year of debates, we intend to develop a number of proposals for enhancement of the World Heritage system in 2022 to mark the 50th anniversary of the World Heritage Convention. The 2021 debates aim to raise general awareness about critical threats that natural and cultural World Heritage sites are encountering, from increasing development pressures, industrial and mining operations, climate change, unsustainable tourism and conflicts, among others, and to develop opportunities for the involvement of civil society in finding sustainable solutions. Our goal is to involve a large number of professionals, NGOs, institutions, and citizens engaged in heritage protection, conservation, and management, and to organize a permanent network of civil society that is able to provide the public with an independent assessment of the situation at World Heritage sites. From the beginning, the initiative has given priority to working with cultural and natural heritage places in all regions of the world and across generations. And we've got a great distribution here on the call, both geographically and generationally. So far, our World Heritage has held a successful virtual launch in November of 2020, moderated by the dynamic international journalist Zeynep Baldi. And if you have not seen it yet, I encourage you to view it on the organization's website. This January debate on the transformational impacts of information technology has two goals. The first is to build a robust global network of organizations, professionals, and individuals interested in the topic. And the second is to discuss ideas on how to enhance the use of information technology to monitor our World Heritage sites and to present multiple narratives through various tools of interpretation. And we've had a lot of discussion about these topics throughout the day. So we've had participation of over 400 people from around the world in this Globinar, and it shows that the network is strong thanks to the tireless efforts of our co-conveners, Mario Santana, Haifa, Albert Halim, and many other members of our team. So we invite you all to stay involved following today and in the other activities and debates this year. And I look forward to hearing your ideas and hope that you've enjoyed the Globinar and enjoyed this last session. So I'm particularly excited about this session because we get to hear from the emerging professionals, but I'm going to hand it back to Mario for a little bit more before we dive into the discussion.
Thanks, Liz. So let's go to the slide of the global competition. Yes, we're going to skip the video today, but you can watch it at your leisure. So just to remind everyone, so on January the 29th is the deadline for the submission of letters of intent. We have two teams to strengthen the monitoring of World Heritage using information technologies and to enhance multiple narratives in the interpretation and presentation of World Heritage sites using information technologies. So we're looking at entries by teams, international teams, that will tackle these two issues or one of these issues using a World Heritage site. And if you look closely at the letter of intent, you will find all the information to conform your team and what are the criteria for the evaluation. Afterwards, in February, we will announce the teams that will go to the second round. And in the second round, we will have a mentoring opportunity for those teams by many of our experts. And the final submission will be at the end of March. And in April, we will announce the winners. And the winners will be able to utilize several of the digital platforms that have been supporting this initiative, and also will be able to go to Belgium for a summer school on heritage documentation. I forgot to mention that in the previous time. So please do submit a letter of intent. Or if you know anyone, please reach out to them. So back to you, Liz.
Great, thanks, Mario. What we wanted to do first was to do a takeaway for all of the sessions from earlier today. So we'll start with session 1. Haysam, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm very delighted to take this opportunity to share the takeaway of the session 1 with respect to the bridging the digital divide in our world heritage. First, I'd like to invite all of you to look through the keywords from our session that are shown on this slide. We have actually discussed first the innovative, affordable and accessible technologies by combining low and high tech for the community engagement. And second, necessary guidance on the appropriate use of technology. And the third one is that the data sustainability and the related ethics, including security and the transparency. And the fourth one is that we touched upon the bridging the digital, inequalities between cultural, natural, and intangible heritage, and as well as the need of interdisciplinary approaches, so on. Well, these issues actually were flagged up as the way to tackle or close the digital gap within the monitoring, interpretation, and the presentation of World Heritage properties, which are vital to attain sustainable development and resilience. So above all things, actually, these issues are closely linked to how we handle the technology rather than technology itself. So indeed, the prevalent application of information technology in the heritage monitoring and interpretation is evident. And we found out that the need for embedding digital practices, skills, and literacy is apparent. However, understanding the required interventions to integrate digital technology into heritage preservation are not so simple. This is because building digital capacity entails more than just using the tools and techniques. It would be necessary to incorporate the need and the context of all the heritage sites, because each site's approach to monitoring and interpretation and to digital is different. And also another aspect is that I'd like to note here is to create a sense making is important, such that the information technology are considered not an alternative or substitute, but equally essential. So forming a fundamental understanding of the relationship between our needs, digital skills, training, and ability to evaluate our decision-making is one of the important aspects in bridging the gap in our world heritage. So I think that the establishment of a solid digital strategy and vision would be necessary at this point for developing and building the digital skills and capacity of community who care for the sites. So I think that the key actors for the leading the change will be the emerging professionals, ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that summary. We're going to go ahead and go on to session 2 with Na.
Thank you. To add to what session 1 did, I think session 2 focused on technology across borders of our World Heritage Site, and it was within the Arab region, Africa and Europe. Some of the technologies and techniques that most of the panelists discussed were remote sensing technology, such as use of satellite imagery and UAV, and then the use of web GIS to present the work that has been done. We spoke about laser scanning and LiDAR. We talked about panoramas and the use of interactive digital storytelling and 3D virtual tours. We also spoke about citizen science and then the use of mobile phones camera. So basically, what we said over here was that one should not focus so much on the complexity of the technology, because often when technology is very complex, sometimes it might be expensive. And if it becomes expensive, then it means that in regions such as in Africa, challenges that could crop up would be having internet challenges. And we also spoke about, some of the challenges that we also spoke about was lack of, there's barrier in language, then lack of funding opportunities for documentation projects. One would agree with me that in Africa, especially, the focus here might not be documentation, because there are some basic needs that we do not have. And so for governments to focus on documentation, it usually doesn't become a priority. Another thing we spoke about that was a challenge was that government was not in favor of open data source, which means that sometimes when we have projects and one has documented a particular site before, we find out that we keep on documenting the same sites over and over again. And so if we had several sites, because we are not sharing data, then means that it becomes more expensive because the same place is documented and one cannot even use these data for change detection and other things. We spoke about lack of proper IT infrastructure. We spoke about the digital revolution of technology, looking at the speed at which technology is moving. And in poor countries, by the time you spend so much in investing into hardware and software, technology would have changed or would have moved on. And so it makes it difficult for low budget countries to keep abreast with current technology. Another major challenge was the challenge of human resource. And here we highlighted the fact that we had underskilled personnel and lack of funding to support training in most countries. And in the event where people have been trained or experts have been trained, like locals have been trained, you find out that they do not return back to their home countries, and for several reasons. And one of the major reasons is that when you get trained out there and you learn so much, you use the technology, coming back just means that you are coming back and you would have the advantage, or you wouldn't get the opportunity to use most of these technology. So it discourages people from returning after being trained. And then the fact that most projects that are carried out within the Africa region are not sustainable, because sometimes the technologies used are such that we do not have the experts within the region. And so when you have a funded project and the funded project comes with specific experts, once the project is over, then it becomes difficult to replicate it in future. And so basically some of the way to look forward, we said it will be very important to have a global information monitoring system. And to do that, there was a need for us to develop an interoperability tool, and to also to train local experts, to encourage government to support open data, and then and to ensure that the same sites are not being documented over and over again, and to have a wider coverage of sites that are being documented. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that summary. And to round it out, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle for session 3.
Hi. So I think I approached this a little slightly differently, and you may have to watch the plenary for the rest of session 3, but I sort of came at this from the perspective of an organizing committee member, emerging professional, tackling this entire event and trying to understand what this is. So when we were asked to put this together, I thought about the word cloud as well. And then I saw the Hasting and I also thought about the word cloud, but then I took a look at the words that came out, and cooperation, teamwork, collaboration, commonality, nature, culture, all these words were all about balance, essentially. And, you know, when we agreed, when Becca, Joe, and I and the others agreed to take this on, I think we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. And for me, I'm fairly new to World Heritage, but we've learned so much, and events like this Globinar are so essential to helping emerging professionals understand what has happened, what's going on right now, and how we do move forward. Not just how we, like the framework with which we approach World Heritage, but like almost everything we did while we were organizing, we had to find a balance between nature and culture. You know, it's like, what do we have in common between nature and culture? The technologies, we focus so much on culture, and then when nature comes in, it's like, well, that's not exactly what we do for nature. And we have to approach everything holistically. And I think that's another word that came out a lot in session 3 today. Renee, if you want to just go to the next image. I just had this image on hand from something that I did during COVID when we were asked to think about something for studio. And I also learned recently about Plato's cave. And I felt like at times I was in this cave of like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm just gonna attack this the best I can and try to get out of this cave. But, you know, we have to consider, again, nature and culture, and we have to approach it, I think, a little bit differently than it has before. There has definitely been a lot of international collaboration, but it's not just a collaboration across time zones, across countries, but definitely, you know, undergraduate students, us, like the emerging professionals and experts who are giving us the time of day and actually wanting to share their expertise and knowledge with us, which has been pretty amazing. But I think balance and cooperation and the way we approach things is sort of what I took out of session 3 today. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. And I have so many questions that we won't have time for about this image, so we'll come back to it. I appreciate all of those contributions, kind of summing up the day. And so what we're going to do next is I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Nada to actually introduce the emerging professionals that are going to provide additional perspective on the Globinar. So Nada.
Thank you, Liz. It's so great to be with you all. And it's so nice to hear you talk about balanced, holistic approach and collaboration, Michelle. It's been an honor to meet you all. And earlier I heard Christina, she said that this Globinar is an exercise in co-creation. And I was not part of the organizing team, but I could see that there was good synergy and there was a lot of hard work that was put into it. Before I start, I want to thank Mario, everybody else who have put in their blood, sweat, and tears for a short period, because I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty tired and ready to go to, you know, relax a little bit from the last few days where you've been working too much. But I just want to also thank the panelists, because from the sessions that I popped in and out of earlier, I got to learn quite a lot from their commentary and their contributions and their experiences. So these emerging professionals are integral to an inclusive and transformational cultural heritage protection. And I wanna make sure that I acknowledge Mario's effort in making sure that they are, they are highlighted and they are brought to the forefront so that they can lead the charge and move us ahead. We all know that this 1972 World Heritage Convention was created to ensure that nations are committed to preserving their cultural heritage for future generation. And right now, we are with this future generation. Each one of the participants during this session or this section of the session are gonna have 1 minute to present reflections about the Globinar, and then we'll have a brief discussion dependent on time for the possible ways forward. And I'm going to start with Hae-Sung.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the floor. Okay, this is very the wonderful experience I've never expected when I just joined this Globinar organization meeting, but I learned a lot from the 3 different sessions and from the colleague and during the preparation stage, and also I learned that the art of teamwork created something very inspirational and insightful, the environment for everybody. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity through this initiative.
Thank you. I'm going to give the floor to Cheng Yen.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Nada. Yeah, I was just following the 3 sessions until this morning, so I didn't make the slide, so I just write out my keywords. It's a great opportunity to have this discussion. I'm a landscape architect working in Shanghai, and I'm working on the digital documentation and database design of World Heritage Cultural Landscapes. So it's a great opportunity to join the discussion. I have a few keywords to summarize my reflections about this Globinar. The first is standardization and diversity. I think we talk about the standardized data can improve the efficiency of conservation management, but how to transform the data into knowledge and solve problems need to reflect local requirements, heritage characters, and also the management context. So we need to explore the unique applications of the unified tools. And the second one is the tools. I think tools are always the ways of seeing. We see information technology as a tool, but at the same time, information technology is also reflecting the way we view the heritage sites. So digital historic objects, like physical ones, are also culturally encoded in a digital form. So we use IT, but we can always find new values of what heritage sites through the application of these tools and the value of the tool itself. And the third set of keywords is global and local. We talk about global issues, and also we have to pay attention on many local issues. So I still remember when we saw many people select not at all when we did the poll question asking are you familiar with the IT information technology. We still see a lot of people select not at all. So we still get some imbalance between different World Heritage sites across the world. So we still see many heritage sites using paperwork and documents and compare with the artificial intelligence, machine learning, VR, etc. So we need to do a lot of things. Okay, and so therefore, I think we have a lot of things to do, and let's join hands together. And I'm looking forward to more discussions with all you guys in the future. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Chun Feng. You want to go ahead?
Yes, thanks, Nana. So hi, everyone. My name is Chun Feng Yang, and I'm currently a Master of Landscape Architecture student in Harvard University Graduate School of Design. And I'm from session 1, Bridging the Digital Gap of Our World Heritage. Thanks to the amazing and super thought-provoking discussions, I started to realize there are some potential traps we need to keep in mind when we are using information technology for heritage conservation as a new tools, especially for the digital archives. On one hand, through the digitization and interpretation of previously ignored or underutilized sources of knowledge, it holds the possibility of filling in gaps and silences in this archival record. On the other hand, it might become as potentially exclusionary of the voices of those without safe and reliable access to the internet and major social media platform, or due to other reasons that are their voices are underrepresented. I want to just there are some sticky notes I took from the session one that really express how the local concerns matters during the using of these new tools, and also when we think about how to treat the new ways of documenting or representing the history, we need to look through the traditional ways and try to avoid the biased narrative. So in this case, we would really respect local context and get more inclusive voices, so that ask us to kind of interrogate the structure of the archives themselves, and really hope that if we pay attention to that, we get united together and work together, and just make all the the archivals become more inclusive. Thanks.
Thank you, Chen-Feng. And our next speaker is going to be Stacy.
Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm Stacy, and in terms of my background, I will soon be taking up a postdoc in digital futures, and I'm also a member of the ECOMOS International Board. So I'd like to start by saying a big thank you to our co-anchors and organizers for the Globunar. I know that time's very short today, so I'll be very brief with my intervention, really using 6 key words. So for me, hearing the broad spectrum of perspectives and the scope of presentations really highlighted the ongoing changing tools that are available at our fingertips today. I feel that some of the earliest building typologies and technologies have undergone changes in the ways that they are designed, constructed, documented, and eventually will be conserved for the future. So to me, these changes indicate a merging of the new and old, or the traditional and emergent philosophies. I feel that change brings opportunity, such as increased flexibility, along with the ability to capture increased geographic and cultural diversity across heritage sites, and also enabling more interdisciplinary approaches. But in conjunction with that, also challenges, such as access, along with the longevity of our toolkits and data sets, and of course also in conserving authenticity. I believe that wider questions are also important, such as, well, who is designing these technologies, and really focusing also on which groups reap the benefits from their use. So overall, I've been inspired by these keywords that I feel have formed something of a call to action by this Globunar. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Stacy. And our next speaker is going to be Alice.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Alice Palladini. I'm an architect from Italy specialized in conservation. So in my very brief intervention, I just wanted to focus on what we mean when we talk about communication. And I wanted to make like this comparison between the communication of when we use like 2D standard representation. So when we know that we are actually communicating like a certain kind of established information such as measurements, but we are also drawing in scale, and therefore we are doing a selection of what we want to represent. And also we are following hierarchy, meaning that we are, for example, when we give a certain thickness to a layer instead of another. But when we are talking about the communication of communication standards in digitalization, there is still quite a big gap. And when I'm talking about communication standards in digitalization, I'm referring to several aspects of digitalization, such as how to represent complex geometries, but also like going more in detail, how many polygons do we need when we are talking about meshes, and for which purposes, and also which data need to be retained and which ones are not actually useful, and we can get actually rid of them. Because sometimes with information technology, we have the idea that we can actually collect everything, but that's not true. And so this lack of standards actually can lead to costly processes and also to inconsistent data for restoration purposes. So the paradox is that if we do not actually test all the technologies that are evolving and coming into the market every day, they might even be a threat to conservation if they are not correctly used instead of being like a benefit for conservation. So like the aim should always be to make heritage at least virtually proof from hazards, and we shouldn't arrive to the point of huge distractions and realize that we actually do not have all the information that we need to restore and preserve a monument. We should be able to fill this gap in advance.
Thank you, Alice. Our next presenter is going to be Carmelo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carmelo Ignacolo. I'm an Italian architect and urban designer based at MIT, where I'm conducting a PhD in city planning at the Department of Urban Studies and Planning at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So it's great to reconvene after this 24 hours round of inspiring conversation and provoking thoughts about the future of heritage. I have to say that I've been particularly inspired by the conversations we had in session 2 on emotions, open data, and the need for standardizations. We had really inspiring conversation with Sarah Kenderlin and the Vargas from Casa Batlló about how to recenter the importance of emotions, whether we experience museums or heritage sites. So I just want to flag here with you and share with you these 3 keywords that I'm sort of taking with me after the conversation we've been having together. In terms of the future, I mean, 2 key points that I really care about, especially in my work and in general, I really believe that are really meaningful, are the use of open data for creating interactive visualization and can be shared with communities and eventually impact policymaking on the ground. I literally put on the slide some of the work I did on visualizing the impact of over-tourism in Venice through scraped data from TripAdvisor or Airbnb. And another topic that I found it really relevant also through some of the discussion that we had today about digitalization and archiving is how to use and critically engage with ancient cartography. So how can we employ digital technology to actually understand more maybe the hidden agenda of cartographer and understand how cognition and distances were perceived in the past and what culturally meaningful elements were embedded in this representation. Final comments about next steps, definitely again, emotions and different narrative that can be narrated through exhibitions. And why not, as an urban designer, I would say through urban projection in cities and holograms and new ways of engaging the communities in the public realm. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmelo. And our next speaker is going to be P. Sasha.
An emerging professional from Africa, a continent that is blessed with many World Heritage, cultural and nature-based sites. What I've gleaned from this important talk today is that it is vital to have interdisciplinary collaboration that is merging the civil society with government, academia, and the local communities where these World Heritage sites are based. I'm very pleased to know that there are people from different parts of Africa who have participated in this conference and have come to the conclusion during the panel discussions that monitoring and transboundary cooperation is key while factoring in the pressures of climate change that are currently putting many of these sites at threat. I implore the government and other leaders and management in senior positions to factor in the contribution of local communities and bridge the gap between the local communities and the scientific communities to sustainably promote and preserve these vital sites for future generations. Thank you.
Great presentation from Peace. And our next speaker is going to be Aline Assoni.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aline. I'm from Brazil. I'm a student of architecture and urbanism. And actually, I thought about two answers for the question, what is next? So the first one is a little bit of topic, but okay. It is unity. Unity between countries around the world, because we need to act like one big team. Actually, all the countries are responsible for World Heritage. And the future will be countries connected, integrated, and with the same data of the heritage. So developed countries should help more emerging countries. So to maintain more and better our heritage, we need more technology to monitor our heritage and to get faster answers for our issues. We are just one in this. We need to face this like one big team. So the second one is sustainable development, and it's a huge area. So one idea of this area is to decrease the number of personal visitors and increase the virtual tours. And actually, this is mainly after coronavirus. And so the experiences will get less sensorial, but more perceptive. And this will help and facilitate the maintenance of heritage. Besides that, heritage will get and become more accessible for whole population around the world. So thank you so much. And I really hope that we have a wonderful year.
Thank you, Aline. A happy new year to you too. And our next speaker is going to be Mikael.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Mikael, and yeah, I'm actually like from Barcelona, but I'm based in Ottawa at Carleton, like doing my PhD and teaching in the faculty. And like for this short presentation, I wanted to bring like a little bit of myself from Barcelona, and that actually I think that it quite relates well with some of the topics that we discussed today, especially linking with the local value and heritage. And probably, as you would probably know, like the building is the Temple of the Sagrada Familia, built by Antoni Gaudí in 1982. And probably you will also know that it was recognized as World Heritage Site in 2005. But perhaps it's not that normally to know that it was designated only the part that he built until his death in 1926. So in the second image, we can see like how the original design was done. It was through an inverted hanging model that guided the original design process of the temple, that Gaudí elaborated in close relationship with the construction principles of the tile vault technique that was used to build all the ceilings. And the ceramic technique was light, self-sustained, and fireproof, and was extensively used in the construction of the whole city of Barcelona from the 15th to the 20th century. However, at the present moment, this construction technique is not being used in the temple anymore, and it's mainly working with reinforced concrete, computer-aided design technologies, and CNC milling machines. And that brings to the last picture that this is like how this technique was originally built by craftsmen of the period. And I would like to raise awareness of the importance to involve information technologies in a better understanding of how we constructed our heritage in the past, even if we are not using that technologies. And the example of the tile vault proves that the lack of knowledge, especially in its structural behavior, it can lead to the abandonment or distraction. And following the example of the Sagrada Familia, I think that new technologies, they have a great way to contribute to the preservation of built heritage, especially in this type of sites, that they can be like an example or a reference for other buildings that they may not be as well known. And however, and following some examples that we have seen in session 3, especially in Peru and Colombia, yeah, I would think that it would, like in our field, we should seek for a more balanced relationship between the new and the old, and finding ways to adapt new technologies with processes that relate with local practices and the particularity of the place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikel. And our next speaker is going to be Rebecca.
Thank you. So today I've really gotten the feeling that the areas we need to explore and be honest and open about in the next steps are the gray ones, those in-betweens of nature and culture and the like, and those that don't necessarily have black and white answers, but those we need events like today and the remaining 11 months of the Our World Heritage Initiative to talk through. And today we talked about how do we define or bound multiple narratives? How do we decide what's too much technology, and is there such a thing as too much technology, or who decides what we monitor and how is that sustained? And more events that engage across geographic, cultural, and generational lines are the only way to continue this discourse and actually move it from just being discourse to action. And so I applaud the input of all the other emerging professionals here, and I'm excited for where we'll be in the future. So definitely stay in touch. Thanks, Nada.
Thank you, Rebecca. And our next and last speaker is going to be Mitali.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mitali, a conservation architect from New Delhi, India, currently working at INTAC. Thank you for letting me be a part of such a global event and making it so easy for professionals from all around the world to connect on a common platform. These sessions have made me realize how extensively we have already incorporated technology into the field of heritage for monitoring and presentation. For me, the next step for technology in World Heritage would be to experience a lost heritage through digital visualization. For example, I would like to say that if I visit a site which is in ruins today, I would like to experience how the built heritage and the landscape that we have lost over the years. This, I believe, can be done through virtual reality technology. It would not only enhance a tourist experience, but can also be used by professionals and students as a medium for documentation and creating visual database. Yes, it has its challenges like the lack of information, authenticity, and interpretation, but I think this would help us communicate the narrative of a site and its cultural landscape. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you very much, Mitali. It must be very early, so thank you for,
yeah.
We'll pass the floor to Ludmila then.
Thanks, Nada. I just wanted to bring again, very briefly, some of the things I've learned today. As an emerging professional, I was really amazed by all the discussions I heard and I participated today. It was incredible. And a lot was said about collaboration and the role of collaboration in preserving heritage sites. So collaboration can come in different forms. In how we use digital tools and in enhancing sharing and sharing about experiences, information, knowledge, technique. And also collaboration can come in different forms between different sectors involved in the same subject, between professionals of different areas but related to the same context, and also between countries, organizations, institutions. And on that, it's really important that we increase communication between these people. And I also bring social media as a collaborative tool because as an open resource, social media gives the voice to different groups, minorities mainly, and it increases public participation and helps with heritage education. So social media can be a very important asset to preserve the local context of World Heritage sites and also of local heritage. On that, I would like to emphasize, I don't know who's in charge of who's the technical assistant, but I put two photos below the slide. The photos are about the National Museum of Brazil. And it's not a World Heritage Site, but it caught on fire 2 years ago. And even though the building is almost lost and it's in ruins today, the efforts made by the Federal University in Rio to understand what they have lost and to gather the public in Rio in order to document the whole process and to increase engagement. It was an amazing effort. So this is, even though it's not a World Heritage Site, it's really nice to see how they could use tools as social media to reach the same goal. And also, when I think about the question, what's the next step? Lots of things come to mind. And mainly about the need to prioritize open source tools and open database so we make information accessible to everyone regarding the cost to the user. And that's something really important, that innovation is not equal to costly solutions. So innovating doesn't mean spending enormous resources. But innovation is actually the ability to explore creative solutions to pre-existing problems. And we can just explore creative solutions when we understand completely the processes and we understand how the tools we are working, they actually work. So in that way, we discover new applicabilities for existing techniques. Some other questions too that I don't have an answer to these questions, but I think they are, it's good to say them. How we share information and what kind of information to share, because we have a lot of, with internet and with social media, everybody can put their words online. So, and everybody's, also regarding documentation, we have, most of the times we have lots of buildings being documented over and over again. So how we share information and what kind of information we share. And on that, we have to consider that data is resource. So last thing, I think that words as traditional and conservative, they are automatically relatable to heritage when we think about heritage. But in fact, the basic mathematic of conserving a heritage site could be, has to be transforming traditional and conservative into an alive site when we make it adaptable. So I think this is something we have learned with the pandemic situation we lived this year. So when we adapt, we discover new ways to live. So I think that's it from my side. And I apologize if I was too long.
Thank you. No, not at all, Ludmila. You've been great. And I think you hit on some points that other colleagues also talked about earlier, which is cost, redundancy, how as a sector we could do better to avoid all of these issues. A couple of things that resonated, and I think, you know, the key takeaway from the whole day were reflected in this session as well. You know, making tech less complex, communities, how do we as a sector support them in the protection of their heritage and provide them with capacity that they don't have in places like, you know, areas in the global south. There was also a key takeaway, which is balance and collaboration. And through collaboration, we can avoid duplication of effort, extra spending, and so on. I would like to call on to Na. I think she had, our colleague from Africa, she had a couple of points that were very, very interesting. And when you talk about communities, Na, and you talk about capacity building, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where do you think our sector could do better? What can we learn from you in order to improve our way of working in your part of the world?
Yeah, thank you very much.
In the area of capacity building, often what we usually find out is that whenever there's a capacity building initiative, it's rather unfortunate, but most people within Africa, whenever there's capacity building, especially if it involves traveling, then they want to go, but they are not really interested in learning anything when they go for these capacity building. So usually it's better to build the capacity of academia, because with academia, they will in turn will be training other professionals, students, and also those site managers, those actually on the ground, and not those who sit in the offices. Often I find out that most capacity building initiative focuses on people within the office setup who would never have anything to do with the sites. And so maybe changing the personnel within, making sure that we've directed it directly to people who will be on the site and who have the time to do these initiatives, instead of people who are very far away and just want to take the opportunity and never use it. Yeah.
Oh, Nada, you're muted.
To Zoom, even after all this time, I can never get used to Zoom. So my next question is going to be for Mitali. And I'm interested in your slide, Mitali. You have a monument, you have also a piece of art. So I would like to learn more about your slide.
Well, I believe that you know, the way we have been, my slide was focusing on how we present our heritage to people, and I mean, we have gone to a great extent and finding you know, great methods on monitoring and preserving, but I think we still lack a connect in some areas with the tourists or with the locals as well to some extent. And that is what I feel can be explored, and that is something which has to keep, you know, growing with like it has to come, new innovative ideas have to keep coming, because you have to keep the people entertained and narrate them in a better way. That is what I feel. And of course, you know, giving them a visual is more, I think it connects more rather than giving them a picture and a text, which they have been seeing for a very long time. And with the new technology, I think, and if you can create an entire world for gaming, I believe you can create an entire world for heritage as well. Yeah, so of course, as I said, that we would be having issues regarding the authenticity of the heritage that we are presenting, because obviously some sections of a building have gone missing. If you're recreating a ruin, for example, some sections have gone missing. This is where, as a professional, my interpretation would come and say that, you know, this is the section that I interpret it to be like this. But I think that is also a layer of history and archival data that adds and speaks about the continuous development and growth of any cultural landscape.
Yeah, heritage is not still, it evolves, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. And this also, the reason why I asked you this question, it's because there was the concept of interdisciplinary approach to cultural heritage. And generally when people talk about interdisciplinary approach, we think in our own terms: government, academia, and nonprofit sectors, but I think who are doing work in heritage. But I think if you want to really move forward in terms of cultural heritage protection, you have to think about artists and artisans, and you have to think about creators who are today being inspired by heritage and making new things out of it. I think from here, do I still have time, Mario?
Yes, sure, Nada. And after you finalize this session, we would like to go to the poll results with Elise.
Okay, so I'll put one question out there about nature and culture, because in the beginning of the session, somebody talks about bridging the digital divide between cultural heritage and natural heritage. And before this, we talked about bridging the divide between, developing countries and also people who can afford to and can be part of this sector, have the opportunity to be part of this sector. But also there are parts of the world where people cannot have the opportunity to be part of these conversations. So how do we bridge the divide that exists currently? Because if we're talking about digital tools, not everybody can, and also the complexity of the tools that the sector is using, how do we move ahead with the idea that we need to simplify, but also we need to think holistically. And I am going to call on, sorry for this, I am going to call on Mikael.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it's actually like with like the future, like foresee, like especially thinking about climate change and heritage. I think that's going to be like an important point to tackle. And then how we understand nature and culture. And how I see that is that we need to shift the way we see nature and we relate to it. And like, as I think it was mentioned before, it's the relationship that we establish. So like traditionally, humans has been in control with nature in that kind of pyramidal thing. But I think that we need to understand that we are all at the same level, more in a circular like understanding, so that we are all related in the same way. And how we look at it is like how we are going to be dealing with all the different natural concepts. And again, like nature has shaped our culture. Like, I think that if we understand culture as the way we interact with each other's, that's been affected directly by culture, by nature, and that we can see that in the buildings that were built across time and the different rituals and practices that they were developed by these different societies with the buildings. So I think that all of these, if we would address that at the same level and not in a hierarchical level, perhaps we will have like a more balanced relationship among all these different elements.
Okay, well, thank you, Mikael, and thank you all the emerging professionals for this session. I am going to ask Elise to go ahead with the poll presentation.
Okay, hi, I'm unmuted now. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to share the results of our polling for today. Can you see the screen in the Miro board with our UNESCO region question?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so this is just one of our first questions for the polling from earlier. And we were so pleased with all the results because we were able to get close to or more than 200 responses from our different attendees. So it's just some wonderful collaboration from everybody. So we have participation from all across the world, as you can see from our first poll question here, with a lot of participation from Europe and North America, as well as Asia and the Pacific. And then here's our word clouds from the different sessions of all of the different examples of UNESCO World Heritage Sites that people are associated with. So some of the ones that stuck out to me were Malbec and Aleppo, Bagan, Myanmar, Lalibela, the Rideau Canal, and Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump, the Great Wall in China. So it's really wonderful to see so many people are so connected to different World Heritage Sites. Our attendees are coming from all over different sectors related to heritage conservation and IT, with lots of academia and as well as nonprofit and NGO. And then, as some of our speakers earlier said, a lot of our attendees were saying that they just have a little bit of familiarity with IT related to World Heritage. So hopefully we can keep having these great panels and discussions to keep learning and sharing knowledge. And I'll just leave everyone with these word clouds again that some of our speakers were sharing earlier, the different concepts that were used to describe the sessions that we saw today. So again, from what people were saying earlier, just collaboration and the community and sharing, and especially the organization of data and how that all comes together. So I think now I will pass it back to Dive to announce the winner of our the photo contest.
I think you would be announcing the names, right? I just announced the prizes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. Well, it depends on who gets the first prize, but if it is from outside India, then I think we decided that the first prize would be a ticket to the World Heritage Site of Taj Mahal, which will be valid till 2022. And because I know that maybe you may not be able to come and visit site immediately, so we are offering you a ticket to the World Heritage Site of Taj Mahal, and you can visit it till 2022. If you are not able to ever use it, you are most welcome to trade it for anything that you require from us in terms of our publication, or you can trade it for second prize or the third prize. The second prize is our publications. In fact, there's a lot of publications. So there is a set of conservation manual, and I see that there are several people who are in field of conservation. So we have a set of 5 conservation manual on documentation, on lime, how to conserve timber and stone. So that is the second prize. And the third prize is the 30 years of Architectural Heritage Division, which is a compilation of close to about 100 projects on conservation, interpretation, documentation, which could also serve as a case study for some of you and to carry forward the discussion we had today. So depending on the contenders, Michelle can decide. If we have too many people, then I think we can double the second and the third prize, because I think we want to keep the first prize as unique. So Michelle, over to you.
Trying to unmute, sorry. Okay, so first prize goes to, oh, what's the name again? Sorry, Ludmilla. Petra, image from Petra Jordan.
Oh, okay, great.
Jofa Ibiosa, did I pronounce that right? Petra Jordan, that's prize number 1. So if you are anywhere near the Taj Mahal or Dive, maybe you can include a flight, Dive. And prize second place was number 74, Wu Lingyuan Heritage Site in China, and the name of that person is Guo Xiaotong. And then we actually have a tie for third place. 20, 6 and 27. Talampaya National Park, Argentina, and Gyeongju Historical Area in Korea. Submitted by Martin Rezik and Haesun Shim. There we go. Yay, congratulations. So Divey, you'll have to tie for third.
Yeah, good, good. So I think we can send both of the same. Hensen, however, you should be disqualified.
Absolutely not. She's the most qualified.
No, don't do that, Divey.
Because you could just, I mean, I'm happy to give this to you without you participating in this.
Thank you.
So we will hopefully get some of these up on a nice collection on social media so everybody can enjoy these amazing images, and a huge thanks to everybody who submitted your photos. Thanks for everybody who voted.
Yeah. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Divey, for offering those very nice prizes. And so what we're going to do, let's make a group photo. It's just a tradition, and then I promise that we're going to keep our closing very short. So please, if you can open your cameras, and then we can take a few photos. Okay. So I'm going to take a sequence of photos like a machine gun. Okay.
Yes.
Just to get the best one. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So before I pass the word to Cristina to close the event, I would like to dearly and sincerely thank our Next Steps team that has been, putting this last event together. And in that particular, I would like to, of course, to thank our anchors, Nada Hoskins and Elizabeth Lee, all our panelists that were able to share their experiences. Especially, it's been really useful to hear the opinion of our emerging professionals. I think that we are in very good hands for the next weeks to come to develop this very strong network and policy recommendations. I would also like to thank our technical support, Renee, Elise, and I would also like to thank our co-conveners, Haifa Abdelahin, and our member of the steering committee and coordinator, Christina Cameron. I would say, I would also, lastly, I would also like to thank our anchors for all the webinars. So as you can see, we have very motivated people. So we saw Shen here, Haesun, Divey, Kay, Asilis, Haifa, and Nad Dede, who has been really instrumental in putting all these activities together. So thank you so much to everyone. And I hope that we can continue collaborating as we have been collaborating throughout this webinar. So back to Cristina.
Thank you, Mario. And in terms of thank yous, I don't want to go over the list, and it's always dangerous to pick people out. So, but I do want to say thank you to you because you have basically strong-armed all of your network to come and take part, and they have been wonderful. You've been a wonderful gang, and I've learned a lot from you. But thank you, Mario, for your leadership. It's really appreciated.
Thank you, Cristina.
I have 2 points that I want to make. The first is listening to all the discussion today, I'm more than ever convinced that it is really time for our World Heritage. And just to remind everybody that when the convention, World Heritage Convention, was created, there was it was really a treaty among governments, and there was no real sense of civil society being involved. And over the years, it's become more and more politicized, as I've said before, and it kind of reflects the United Nations politics in writ large in New York and writ smaller in Paris, but it's the same kind of countries staking out positions. And the discussion has become more and more political and less technical, and less really concerned about the sites. And I've always realized that the people who talk about them in that big forum are not the people who know what's going on. There's a big gap in there. And listening to all of you and listening to the discussion all day, I really realize it's now really time for this organization to take root and really affirm ourselves collectively in looking after these really important places, these beautiful landscapes and places that are really important to all of us and they touch us. So I thought today was very important for me to sort of see, yes, this is really the time. It's really time to break out of the states parties kind of framework and really take this convention into the civil society dialogue and participation. And the other thing is that the COVID-19 actually brought us this incredible gift of Zoom, I guess, or pushing us into a different kind of connection with each other. And what it's done is really leveled the playing field so that everybody's voices can be heard. And I think that first slide where you saw where everybody was from was really important. We really did have people from all over the world, and that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And so the concept of building a robust network is really being accomplished. And my final point is that for me, the Globinar stands out for collaboration and co-creation. I used those words earlier, and that it kind of, I guess my takeaway image will be the Miro board with all of these little things floating around and people, you know, collectively contributing to building this place. And so that for me is so different from what I grew up with, which was a very kind of competitive world. And it made me as a student, and it makes me think that maybe we're going to get to a better place globally when we have an attitude of co-creation and collaboration as opposed to competitiveness. So I was really the Miro board sort of stands there as the image of collaboration. So thank you very much. I learned so much myself. And I'm very proud of all of you and all the work you have done. And I think really we made a mark, and I fear that the other 11 coordinators and conveners are going to be trembling when they look back and see what's happened and how well this one has come off. So I want to thank you all. I think it's time to go to bed. Some people are just up. But anyway, for those who are just up, enjoy your Sunday. And thank you all so much for participating, and we'll be continuing. So I think we can go. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much for your leadership. Okay, so I hope everybody have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mari.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Some other day.
Thank you.